Guys, I made a animation today. I'm gonna make a music video about this and a explanation video. I might make a little explanation video on the global warming video, but today we're just gonna do the Earth and Moon's origin. Well, look, this was the Earth. Everywhere were giant erupting volcanoes. We have a few frames. And it's a planet called Theia. This Theia is an orange planet that is smaller than the Earth, that started to go like an asteroid onto the Earth, as well as other asteroids crumbled onto the Earth, and the planet Theia crumbles into pieces. And then, after a few million years, it actually starts to gets sucked by gravity and starts to form a new planet or moon that we call the moon today, that goes around the Earth. With the pieces of Theia, the planet, the moon formed. This is the moon that formed like after a few million years before Earth did. Earth is in these times, Earth was just a crust of the sun, but super hot, bulky, and then this moon started to orbit the Earth, like Saturn, but then it starts to orbit the Earth, we say. You can see that it orbits the Earth. Now it starts to get white. You might be like, what is this? This is the Ice Age. What is an Ice Age? An Ice Age is when a planet, or we can say the Earth, gets completely covered by snow. There are extremely low amounts of heat, and there are tons of snow falling. Then it cools off all of the volcanoes and all of this big bulky mass and turns it into a thick layer of snow. And it includes for the whole Earth, the planet. Then the Ice Age begins to melt, or we can say it starts to crack. In this picture, you can see that it's starting to crack open a few of water. You can see that there's water sources now. You can see the ice around all ice around the Earth starts to melt, and if we zoom in, you can see that it says zooming in how life formed in the ocean. Now, this little single bacteria, this here is the first ever living thing. It was a bacteria. It starts to multiply itself by multiplying the genomes of inside it, and it turns a little copy of itself. We can say it's an imposter, but it's a copy. Then these two start to make a copy of their own cells, and so goes on. So one cell formed two, then two cells formed four, and so on. 8, 16, 32, 64, and millions and billions of them started to mix with each other and make a few meat pieces that started to form. It makes a leg of an underwater creature. I made it a lizard, but fish? Yeah, fish too. I made a little. Yeah, that doesn't look that right, does it? Then it started to form inside organs, in the body, in the skin, and the bones. Everything was evolved by the single cell that evolved when the Ice Age was melting and going away. And the tides were a little bit more heated, so it was enough heat that one single bacteria can evolve to millions of generations. And I made this area a little bit. It's shaking his head to know where it is, but there's nothing but water. There is no more living cell, but inside of them, the genomes actually burst open a little and make their other generations, or more of those bacteria evolve and make more. And this, I made it a male. This is a male, and if it spreads, then it one more bacteria that is a little bit different but evolves the same creature but not the same gender happens, and then makes a female. And then actually the cell forming can stop. Then they can make generations of babies, and their babies can make babies, and so on. Then there were a little bit of some things that happened that made the underwater place a little dangerous. Rocks started to form, and inside there was hot liquid that could survive inside of the water. So they rised through the tides and made volcanoes rise. A few pieces of broken parts of a volcano rose and erupted. Actually, this is actually not exactly what happened. Actually, it might have happened. Yes, that might have happened. Rose and erupted everywhere. And then, when the eruption stopped and night fell, night is kind of colder than noon, actually a lot colder. Then the volcanoes cooled completely down until, look, there's a little bit of some life on the surface growing. Now that happens from a few of those cells going over here, like those little cells that evolved these creatures, this creature, this underwater creature, we can call it a lizard. Those little cells came up from the tide, evolved here, or any of the surface that it can survive in, then multiplied like we saw there in the bacteria that was trying to make more of the next generation. Then they made land-forming creatures, which made grass. Grass is a living thing, so it made grass, it made creatures, it made animals, mammals, and so on. And now, the volcano stopped erupting and some grass started to grow from the tide up into the surface, then started to evolve into, let you guess, little sprouts. Look, there are little flowers growing from the grass, because they need, by the way, flowers need nitrogen and phosphorus, and there was a plenty of it on the grass. So nitrogen and phosphorus was rich there, and the cells wanted to make plants evolve. So they got into grass, to plants, to animals, to mammals, to trees, and so on. Now we have flowers, different kinds of flowers. You can find cyan, blue, or red from the next generation of this little cell that evolved. And from this, it sprouted over here and then over here and started to grow into a seed, or we can call it some kind of thing formed and evolved into a seed. A seed is like this little seed, a lone seed, crossed over and landed here and made a little sprout. A little sprout that we know as a tree or a plant over here. This tree grew into a giant tree, and so on. It spreaded from there to another erupting volcano, and so on, and making islands form, and so on. Then more birds started to form. Birds are part of mammals. Mammals started to form underwater and in the surface thanks to a single bacteria that lived over 1 billion years ago. Now we have just a few animations. Now there are birds, trees, and flowers, and mammals, like blue whales. Then we can see here that these places were a little bit odd, and some kind of tide rise or some kind of land moving made them move this chunky part, pushed it over here. The tide pushed it over here, and this tide, it pushed it over here to there and a little bit surface. So it pushed it, only it didn't push it from here. It didn't have any kind of circumstance of going there, so it moved that way. So pretty much the tides pushed this island and this island into this part of islands, and this island got pushed over here into those islands by tides rising and pushing the land, or evolving this, or the land evolved this way and the tides ride this way. And you can see now there are islands and they change places. Islands formed from over here. You can see that we said that there were erupting volcanoes. Well, they rised and rised and rised even more and more and more, and evolved more and more islands that had more and more rich soil with nitrogen and phosphorus on them too, which made plants like flowers and trees grow again, with no volcanoes left. Actually, there are still a few volcanoes left that still didn't erupt though, but might erupt if something happens inside of them. There are some volcanoes that have water in them, like some volcanoes. I don't really know what they are, but now the moon has completed its orbit, and it returns when we are sleeping, and sometimes we can stay awake at like 9:30 p.m. and we can see a giant moon that has completed its orbit. And here's the Earth. After thousands and millions of generations, he's evolved. And the moon that is evolved from a single planet that crashed into Earth, and his pieces formed moon. And the moon has been pretty, discovered. About 12 people have discovered, but 12 people have discovered moon, but about 7.8 of us living here. 7.8 of us living here have discovered Earth. And it was actually made less than our population, aka 4.3 or 5 billion years ago. We might have only discovered 12 people in the moon, but we discovered at least 70% of the world itself, or even 100. But we might even do a little underwater thing. Look, over here there's waters, but only 20% or a little bit more than that has been discovered in the tides. Though only in land we can say we discovered pretty much a lot of it, like 99% of it. But about a little bit of it is still left to be discovered. And by the way, we have one more thing. We didn't add moon a little bit of some big bulky stuff like this. Well, that was because I didn't really want to spend that much time on the moon. But why is there little big bulky little gray spots on the moon? They can say black. Why? Because on space volcanoes started to erupt You can see here that there were volcanoes erupting inside of, well, the moon. And they erupted and erupted, and the space got so cold that the volcanoes had to cool down, and some of the space sand or rock started to cover up the remains of the volcanoes, and only a few big bulky gray spots will be revealed of those volcanoes. So this is actually 300, exactly 300 frames. You can see that I spent a lot of time doing this and a lot of framing, but at least it's a lot easier than you thought. It actually took me about only 1.2 hours to complete. By the way, right now it's 2:37 57 p.m. right now, but right now we have to literally go. In 3:30 p.m. we're gonna have to, go some class and stuff, but they're not that bad. I mean, we only have one class that we have to worry about. So this was the Earth and the Moon's origin. Pretty much the Moon and Earth explained all itself. We might even do the solar system explained. But we need more information. Sorry, I didn't get it together that much. We will make a little animation to put on it after this video, so you guys wait for that. So, see ya.